Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, May 30th, 2022, Memorial Day. I hope you all had a good weekend. I really do. I hope you went out and you had a good time with family and friends and enjoyed yourselves. And you all know I'm a veteran. I'm not here for any kind of thanks at all. Memorial Day is not about that. Memorial Day is about those who never made it home. And so, if you think about it, you should be celebrating partly for them as well. I don't look down on Memorial Day. I have a lot of respect for that, and for those that have never made it back, whether in this country or any other countries. Honestly, everybody has contributed. Everybody who's been a soldier in any shape or form for their country or ours should be memorialized in some sense. So anyway, I hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend. Let's decide what we want to talk about tonight. I know that we always talk about cars. We try to as much as we can, and sometimes we get off the tracks and talk about food, or we talk about movies or whatever, and that's okay. There are no real rules established that we have to stand by and stick to. So, if you do have a topic, by all means, bring it up. And it doesn't matter what it is. If you have a car question, that's great. But we can talk about stuff. And if you have a good question and I can come up with an answer for that question, you get a bell. Yep. And sometimes my chat box over there on the side, they can answer the questions. They also get a bell. And I give out random bells just for being here. Just because that's the nice guy that I am. You get a random bell on occasion. So no rhyme or reason. You may get one, you may not, but don't be disappointed. Just know your turn is coming. So let's see who's here. Right off the top is Terry Keithley. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Please hit the like and thumbs up for Barry. Thank you kindly. Yes, I'll give you a bell for that, Terry. Rick Gain. Happy Memorial Day, everybody, and thank you to all that served. Thank you, Rick. Robert. Same here too. The leftover brisket is wrapped up and put away. Yeah. Clark Clifford, glad to be here, present, and accounted for. Glad you're here, Clark. Robert, presents. Did you bring enough for everyone? Yeah, that would be nice. We all need presents. And presents as well. Be present in the presents. Simone, saying hi to Inferno. Glad you're here, Simone. Hope all is well. Nandu, good evening, everyone. Hope all is well and you had a great weekend and took a minute to remember those that gave all. Yes. Jerry checking in from the Money Pit. Good evening to all from Middle Tennessee. Glad you were here. Let's see. Simone says hi to everyone. Rick Stevenson. Good evening, everyone. Glad you're here, Rick. Ray Buckman. Hey, Barry and all. Glad you're here, Ray. Glad you're here. Simone says hi. Bob Shoemaker. Good evening from OK, Oklahoma. Glad you're here, Bob. Hope all is well. Rick Stevenson, all gave some gave all. Yes, very much so. Very much so. Vanessa. Ooh, that's a tough name there. Hi from Australia. You're up late. Vanessa Huft. I don't know how to say that. Huft. I'm going to say Huft. That's my guess. Glad you're here, Vanessa. I'll give you a bell for first time being here. Thank you for being here. Troy, good evening from coastal Georgia. Glad you're here, Troy. And Alex, hi. Do you have any projects lined up after the Camaro? That is a good question, Alex. And I'm pretty sure I do. I know I get people that contact me all the time, and I have to. I hate to say it, I have to defer people or deflect because I can't take in everything. I'm a one-man operation. And if I could, I would have a huge shop full of cars, but then I would have to get employees, and it would get really complicated. I've been down that path and really didn't enjoy it that much. But I know, at least I still feel that there is a 69 fastback coming that should be coming up here, well, at some point once I get the Camaro together. My understanding is it's an original 428 Cobra Jet car, but it has it's missing the engine and transmission, drivetrain, so it's really just a shell of a car at this point. And the owner's wanting me to do all the sheet metal work on it. So that's hopefully the next car that's coming in. I do have another vehicle that I may do in between somewhere in that respect. It is a 56 Chevy that we did at the body shop years and years and years ago, and the owner has decided he wants to put in a straight axle. So he's asked me if I would be willing to do that job for him. I like to weld, so yeah, I can do that. And I'm going to try to work that out with him, get the timing right to where we can get it in here, and maybe, hopefully it doesn't take too long to get that one done. But that is on the, sort of on the list. I do have the other 68 coupe that is here. That is the red car, Red Dave as I called it, just to give it a name. So I have that car, and I have the 67 coupe that will very likely become a fastback. But I have to get all the materials for all of that. I have to get all the materials for that. So I have not been purchasing all of the items just yet. I want to kind of I've been in contact with a dealer because I want to do a package type of deal on all of the sheet metal for the 67. Apparently, if you spend X number of dollars, then the shipping is covered, supposedly. So I need to take advantage of that because there's going to be a lot of pieces that go with that. So good question, Alex. Thank you for that. And there's always other things that I'm working on. So all kinds of stuff. Out of order garage. I like that. Hello, folks. Glad you're here. We have another one on here that's out of gas garage. So I think that's the first time I've seen out of order garage. So I'm glad you're here. New River. Good evening. New River. That's a new one as well. I'll give you a bell. I have not seen that one. Phil Manasseri. Phil from New York. Camaro looks great. Love this series. Thank you, Phil. I'll even give you a bell. Bruce Roberts. Good evening, all. Happy Memorial Day for all in the U.S. Thanks for keeping us Canadians safe in this crazy world. You know, Canada has contributed as well. But yeah, I mean, Memorial Day should cover just about anybody. Now, I'm not going to say I probably lean more towards allies, obviously. But, you know, when it comes down to it, fighting for your country, you know, you can look at it from both sides of that. When there's a war, your enemy is fighting for what they believe in, and your team or your people are fighting for what they believe in. So, unfortunately, it's usually the soldiers that lose their lives based on decisions of their leaders. You know, unfortunately. Wish there was a better way to solve all these problems in our world. Simone, I can't stop for long, Bear. I am exhausted. I had a very early morning. Okay, well, I'm glad you stopped in anyway. That's good. That's good. Vanessa. It's Hoift. Hoift? No, I would not have said that. Vanessa Hoift. If I'm saying that right. Hoift. It's German and pronounced Hoift, if that makes sense. It makes no sense at all, Vanessa, but that's okay. I know I have lots of people with German names, and that I know German names, and the names have been changed over the years and various spellings and stuff like that. So I'm okay with that, but I would not have maybe put that as H. It doesn't make, I don't know. Hoift. Gotcha. Glad you're here. Rick, why did you choose to make the 67 fastback and not the 68? The 67 has a lot of issues. More issues, in my opinion, than the 68. The car itself was a coupe, automatic V8 car, and previous work has been done to it, where they replaced, I believe, the firewall, and they put in floor pans, and as it turns out, the quarters are bad, the roof is bad, the A-pillars are bad. all the critical areas that need to be in good shape to rebuild are actually bad. And the 68, on the other hand, is actually pretty solid. Um, it is it's got some dents in it, but overall it's pretty solid. But that's why the 67 I think is the better candidate in this instance. Simone says Happy Memorial Day to all. Thank you, Simone. Vanessa, and it's 9 a.m. Tuesday morning in sunny Queensland. Okay, well then you're up early. I never get the times right, but we figure it's 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. here, so you're 14 hours ahead. Is that right? 14 hours. 14 hours ahead. I have to remember that. It's hard to do the math sometimes. Alex, it's pretty awesome people hire you to work on their cars. Have you worked professionally as a bodyman panel beater in the past? Yes. Well, to back up just a little bit, I don't know if you know, Alex, I grew up, my dad had a junkyard. So I've been around cars all my life, literally all my life. And, I got to be around wrecked classics and take apart old everything, just about anything. Impalas and Mustangs and Studebakers and Corvairs and Mopars. So I've taken apart many cars. And past that point, I am also an aircraft mechanic. So I went to school for aircraft maintenance. I'm a licensed A&P mechanic. And I worked 29 years for Delta as a sheet metal mechanic. In that time frame, I also co-owned a body shop for about 8 years. And I was, for lack of a better term, what you would call the heavy hitter. The heavy hitter. So when you get a car in collision work that's damaged, it's wrecked, it's bent, it was on me to straighten it out. Pull it, straighten it, replace panels, weld stuff together, all that sort of thing. And also I did a lot of the essential body work. So yeah, I've been working on cars all my life. But yeah, all those things are a part of it. And then we also did some restoration work at the shop. If you look at some of my earlier videos from 2011, 12, 13, I think, you'll see some of the classic cars that we worked on at the body shop. So good question, Alex. Give you a bell. Mod Motors. Hey, from North Carolina. Well, I'm glad you're here, Mod. Hope all is well. Vanessa says yes, correct. Thank you. Harvey, hello Barry from Rally Cat Garage. Glad you're here, Harvey. I'm sure it's getting hot up there, isn't it? I'm sure it's getting hot. It's hot here. Crash Rider, I'm running a little bit late, but thank you for your service to JD and all the other vendors too. Hit the thumbs up for the man. Yes. Thank you, Crash Rider. Let's see. Derek Pro. Hi, Barry, everyone. Hope you're all well. Camaro is looking great, Barry. Thank you. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Derek. It is coming along very nicely. Simone, it's midnight, 12:11. I get it. 00:11 a.m. there in the UK. So go to bed, Simone. Get some rest. Derek, 9:10 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the Camaro is coming along, and I'm pretty happy with the results, as I've mentioned in the video. There were some things that kind of had me backtrack a little bit, and as I test fitted the multiple pieces. I test fitted the side of the car multiple times, and of course I did all the final prep work of drilling holes and making sure the flanges, everything was welded where it needed to be welded. And I was putting it in place, and I talked about this on my my Patreon video. Let me see if I can find that piece of metal. I had a small issue that I had to deal with, which was self-induced. It was my fault. It was my fault. Basically, if you were watching the videos, you'll know that the side of the car, the panel that I replaced has the main structure of the side, the rocker panel, and the outer wheelhouse. I kept all that together, and the goal was to put the outer wheelhouse up against the inner wheelhouse that was in the car, the existing one, weld all that together. Well, what I found was there was some damage at the forward lower section of the inner wheelhouse. So you can do the math there, I guess. Basically, it was this piece. I don't know how, you can see that shape there. Okay. And I should point out that it was facing this direction. So this cut edge was the good part of the metal for the inner wheelhouse, and then the outer overlaps over this. And then, of course, it gets spot welded. So when I was looking at it, doing the final fitment, I was thinking, I need to address this. Because, you don't want to weld to that. So what I did is I cut it up here. You can see my cut. And then I cut straight down. And this would be the outer flange to the inner wheelhouse. And this is the bottom quarter. Okay? So I made this piece just out of some leftover piece of the original outer wheelhouse. Anyway, so I put everything in place, and I went to test fit the side of the car, and it wouldn't go on. And I talked about this in my Patreon video, that sometimes we do things that cause our own problems. I guess I could word it that way. Like, it's self-induced. So when I was fixing this piece, what I failed to recognize was that this corner down here should probably not be a corner, because the rocker panel comes up and it kind of actually has that sort of angle somewhere like that in that area. So when I put the side up and I was trying to lift it into place so I could put vice grips on the mating flanges, it wouldn't go up. And this was my point that I was saying. Sometimes we make our own problems. We overthink things, or we don't maybe do a complete research on what we're trying to accomplish. So immediately my mind went, what did I do wrong? Because I knew something, because it fit before. So I had to backtrack a step or two and go, you know what? I replaced that corner, and I realized that I made it a square down here, and that's what was fighting me. When I was trying to bring that back up into place, it was hitting that corner. Cut off the corner, reshape it, whatever. Sure enough, it fit like a glove. Boom. But see, that's a valuable point, in that sometimes whenever we are doing these projects, and we tend to, I won't say skip a step, because I always talk about test fitting, and I say sequence is scored. That's a military type of thing, where you do things a certain pattern to get good scores on your tests and stuff. And sometimes we may think we're doing the right thing, and we maybe cause more problems than we resolved. So anyway, just make that a point. Whenever you're doing these sort of things, continue to test fit. Don't just assume and start putting the thing together and go, okay, I'm done. Boom, start welding. The other thing, I talked about it in the video as well, the A-pillar over there, it was leaning, and it was kind of leaning out a little bit. And along with that, I realized whenever I was test fitting with the glass and everything, that there may have been something interfering with the metal that I was sandwiching together, because I created that pocket up on the top of the firewall, and I looked in there, and sure enough, there was a piece of leftover metal in there that was causing some conflict. So I cleaned all that out, made sure it was nice, and put it back together. Well, when I went to put on the header panel up here at the front, it actually almost sat perfectly together. And I'm much happier with it. I was more than happy to start welding on it at that point. I did try to contact, I sent an email, or I put a message on Mr. Fireman, if you've been watching him, Mr. Fireman 164. I asked him to contact me on email because he's building a Camaro, same 68, and he has it all apart. He has the roof off, but he has the infrastructure all in place. And so I wanted to contact him and say, hey, maybe I could get some measurements from him and try to figure out exactly what the width is and stuff. Although I do have the roof panel that I'm going to set in place, it really doesn't matter what the measurements are when it comes down to it. If you measure it to the factory and you drop the roof panel on and it doesn't fit, well, then you haven't helped yourself. So ultimately, the roof panel is what's going to determine how wide the A-pillars need to be, hopefully, along with the windshield and everything else. Okay, Simone, she left us. That's okay. Good. Get some rest. Derek, you should combine your skills and build a jet-powered Camaro. Better than this electric stuff. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I think somebody's beat me to that one. There's probably a jet-powered Camaro out there somewhere. Harvey, no, sorry, Wally. I saw. Sorry, Wally. I too belong to the Measure Once, Cut 6 Times Club. Yeah, well, yeah, I measure so many times. It gets ridiculous sometimes. Jerry, what is your opinion on weld-through primer? That is a great question, Jerry. I'll give you a bell for just asking that. I had somebody ask me about that. I don't know if it was on email or on my Facebook page or whatever. And I've talked about it. Actually, I had a conversation with, I think, Andrew, Grease Rookie Garage. Now, they sell this product that says weld-through primer. So in your mind, you create this image that you spray on this weld-through primer, and then you weld, and some magical thing happens, and the primer stays in place, and now it's rust-free and perfect, and blah blah blah. And I did that for a while. I used a zinc-based weld-through primer. I used a copper-based weld-through primer. But the reality is, I don't think it does much of anything. In fact, I believe it even says on the can or on the instructions somewhere that you apply the weld-through primer, and then you're supposed to sand it off wherever you're going to be welding. So what's the point? What is the point? Is this some sort of gimmick that they've come up with to sell more product? Probably. Look at these cars. And like this right here, we can look at this. There's bare metal right there from 1968. The welds aren't rusted. They're not rusted. It's usually the surface of the metal that gets rusty. Now, granted, eventually the rust, if it's in a salt environment, the rust will work its way into welds and stuff like that and cause it to rot out. I've become less and less inclined to use weld-through primer. Every time I found that it makes it more difficult to weld. If you leave it in there and you try to weld, you got to strike an arc, maybe get, a bare spot, catch it or scrape it, start welding. And then with the heat, it just burns it off. I don't know how far, I've not tried to do a sample. Let's say if I took a plug weld, put on weld-through primer, made a flange, let's say, put on weld-through primer, and then welded it and then cut it to see how far the burn penetration removed the primer, because it consumes it in the heat. So I'm just not very much a fan of using it in these projects anymore. And the reality is, we don't take these cars out in the weather like they used to. When these cars were new, everybody drove them everywhere. Rain, snow, sleet, everything. These were daily drivers. And so they got to see the worst of it. Today, what do we do with these cars? We build them, drive them to the car show, put them in the garage, keep them out of the weather, keep them clean. So really, I think it's kind of pointless to use weld-through primer. So that's my opinion. But that's a great question. Great. Thank you, Jerry. Robert, measure 3 times, cut 4 times, and grind it and bash it with a hammer when it fights too much. Yeah, that too. Just keep hitting it. Clark, we make our own problems. Are you paraphrasing Tony Stark? Yeah, I could be. Did you see this? Okay. Yeah, we a lot of times we tend to create our own little problems, and not just on cars and a lot of things in life, but I think we all fall into that trap. Ray Buckman says goodnight to Simone. Robert, well-through primer is for the back side of the panel and in between where you can't get to it. Okay. I mean, that's pretty much what they tell us, yeah. But I still can't say that I'm a fan of it. New River, you need to try SPI epoxy primer. Well, if I get a chance, I guess I could. Ray, I believe it's better if you're spot welding than using MIG or TIG. And that very well may be the case. When you're taking an actual spot welder and pinching things together, you're creating heat, but it's not the same as creating sparks and burns in essence. So that's a good point. Derek, you're probably right, but not with the precision and skill of a Barry built one. Oh, thanks, Derek. Jerry, will you prime the weld area and grind spot? No, I've pretty much just kind of given up on the whole weld through. Well, I take that back. I've done welds where I've used some weld through primer, and I have taken the grinder and ground it, but I don't know if there's an advantage to buying the weld through primer at that point. Why not just use regular primer? If you're gonna bare the contact area anyway, what's the value? I don't know if there is a value between the two. For what the stuff costs, is it any different than applying basic primer? Now the other thing is, let's say I'm welding the wheelhouse. I'm welding the wheelhouse to the trunk drop off on this Camaro. It has a mating area where these two pieces, it's a curve. So it comes together. I did put primer on that, regular primer, and then I left the contact area. I did not spray on what I had bared in that area. Now what I will do is come back and spray primer into what it may be perceived as a gap. And that way it at least tries to get into the gap between the two panels. So every little bit of prevention helps. But again, these cars we're not out driving these in salt and rain and weather and all that sort of thing anymore. So, Jerry, my question was regular primer. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yep. Michael, I was named after my uncle who didn't come home from Vietnam War. I've always thought of it as a honor. It should be. Consider that. That's a great. I mean, that is an honor. That is an honor. And sorry for your loss. Rick, a friend needed a car paint and was told clear coat is going for 500 a gallon. Does that sound reasonable in today's economy? Actually, that might be kind of low for a good primer. I mean, you can buy. I mean, there's stuff that I've used that's pretty cheap, and it's meant for a. Well, let's put it this way: if you had a used car lot, and you were prepping cars to resell on your used car lot, you're going to buy the cheapest paint and primer you can get. Make it shiny, sell it, and get it out the door. And 6 months later, that stuff's probably going to come off, maybe a year, and it's their problem at that point. But if you're building a nice car, I know when I was checking into some clear coats, I mean, you could probably spend over $1,000 easily on a good quality clear coat, and probably maybe even double that for premium top end, super duper clear coat, because it has to have UV protectant in it to make it last. Now, again, depending on what you're doing with it, I have some on the Suburban. I repainted the hood on my Suburban, and I clear coated it. And I used cheap clear coat. I know I used cheap clear coat. And I did that hood like 5 years ago. It's still holding up, and it sits out in the sun every single day. But anymore, I don't know the quality of the cheap clear coat stuff. It's cheap for a reason. So $500, that's probably not bad at all, honestly. Good question. Thank you, Rick. There we go. Derek, you can spray a body deadener when all is done that you've done in the past should drain into all the nooks. Yes. Yeah, that's a great idea too. You just close up the gaps. Ideally, we talked about, I've said it many times, if you have a classic car and it's been out in the weather and the rain, up north they used to have this thing, Rusty Jones or Z-Bart, right? And they would basically say, hello, Rusty Jones, goodbye, Rusty car. That was their catchphrase. So what they would do is, you might already have a car that's got rust on it, and they might wire brush some of that stuff loose, but they would just spray this undercoating on it. It was like a big, thick tar undercoating. They would drill holes in your doors in the rear, and they would put like a magic wand down in there and spray this junk down in the bottom of the door so it kind of settled down into the cavities. And then they'd put a little plug. You'd get a little Z-Bart plug that would cover that hole. Well, that was a great idea, except it was too late at that point. If you already had a car that had rust in it, all these people were doing was hiding it. They would just cover it up. And they'd say, okay, you're rust-free. Well, you're not really rust-free. I remember at the junkyard, we'd have cars up there that had Z-Bart on them, and it may have been recently done. It may have been done 10 years prior, been in a wreck or something, and the doors split open, and you could see the junk that's in there. You'd grab a hold of it and peel it back and look underneath, and it's all rust because it was already there. It was too late at that point. It was already, in the metal. So now, like whenever I'm doing one of these cars, it's indoors. It's in basically a controlled environment. It's dry. I'll knock off whatever rust I need to, like some of the surface rust will get out of here. Treat it, put some primer on it. When I'm done, this car will last longer than the 50 years it's already been here, or 54 years that it's already been here. So that's the way I look at it. Richard, hope everyone enjoyed the Memorial Day. Thank you to those who served. Yes, thank you, Richard. Jerry, I finished hydraulic clutch installation on my 66 Mustang. Cool. Good. Hope everything went smooth on that. Jerry, I agree the clear coat is very expensive, and I like the European clear coat. Yes. The European clear coat is actually what I used on Jade. That is stuff that I've used in the past, and I liked it. Rick, a lot of people do not realize what all goes into painting a car. Amen to that. I'll give you another bell for that. Here's a prime example. I had somebody contact me about just painting a fender. Okay. It was a 2006 or 7 Chevy truck. It was white. And they said, hey, could what would it cost to repaint this fender? And I said, well, it depends. And they said, what does that depend on? I said, well, it depends on what kind of quality they want. First of all, you're talking about a vehicle, if it was a 2006, it's 16 years old. So I'm not going to be able to match the paint that's on that vehicle. And he said, well, it's just white. Oh, no. There is no just white. I know that from experience with PPG paint chips, white is speculative. There are so many variants to white that you just can't see. And, people just think it's so simple that it's just a matter of, you just pull white. No. So anyway, he wanted it done in white, and I said, well, what kind of, what's he expecting for like a clear coat? He said, "Oh, whatever you have, kind of thing." And I said, "Well, no." He said, "Well, what do you think it would cost?" And I said, "Oh, overall, for me to do it, and just to prep a fender and paint it, I said you're looking at least $300." And he was like, "$300? Why?" And I said, "Well, the price of paint. I think I don't know if it's a pint now, can be close to $100 for just a pint of paint. Probably at least $80 for a pint, and then you add in the cost of the clear coat, uh, add in if you have to do primer and all these sort of things." And I said, $300 to $400 is what it's going to cost for me to do it. And he was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, the body shop, one of the local body shops, said they would do it for $350." And I was like, "Well, there you go. Take it to them. Let them do it because they already have the supplies. They have everything on hand. I don't have to drive to the paint supplier and get my paint. I don't have to, get materials." I said, "Take it to them. That you're not gonna get it any cheaper if I do it. I guarantee it." And he was like, "Well, okay, I'll tell them." I said, "Okay, that's just the truth." But yeah, that's true with any of this stuff. Um, if you really add up, now you could do it on a budget. You can, you can buy a single stage paint. You can buy a cheap paint gun, and I have nothing against cheap paint guns. I've used one once for years. Um, there's a lot of things you have to add into it when you start adding in tape and paper and primers and uh, solvents, all that stuff. It adds up really really quick, and people just don't realize it. You're right. Derek, a good 2-pack high fill primer is around 2 to 250 for a 4-liter kit. Base and clear runs into nearly double that. The latest clear I've used is from Canada. Fabulous product, straight off the gun. Okay. Well, you have to send me a link to whatever you got for the clear, so I can maybe give it a shot. But yeah, I mean, and everything is going up. You look at the price of gas, and you realize what is paint made from? Petroleum products, oil, everything. They just keep raising their prices on us till we can't afford to do anything. Derek says, "Absolutely, Rick. They think it takes a couple of days." Yeah, yeah, it is. It is not a couple of days. Derek, white is the worst, even on the new cars now, full of pearls. Yep, that is true too. But I will still say silver is the worst. I mean, you might as well consider silver and white to be almost in the same spectrum. Let's say. Um, I can see a silver car that's been painted. I can immediately tell you, even where they tried to blend it, it just pops. Um, Probably 99% of the population will never see it because they're not trained to look for it. But I know for me, I can't stop myself. I see a vehicle that's been repainted. I'm like, oh, well, they did that, they did that, they did that. And the other people are looking at it like, what do you see? And I said, well, right here. See how the flake is laying this way, and you know, the clear coat has, whatever. And they're like, oh, I don't see that. I said, okay. Robert, part of why I like black. Very true, but even black has its tendencies. Now, they add in, now black is great because you can panel paint black as long as it's just black. I was looking at this chip book earlier. This is from Rawl. I don't even know who Rawl is, but I was trying to find some variants. Like even right there, there's these colors, these gray, silver-looking colors, are all very close in the spectrum. And I'm not talking to you. Potential spam calling. No. But black, what we noticed at the shop was they were putting in, a little more blue or maybe even some red, or maybe a light dusting of a red flake or something that you don't really see it until the sun hits it, and then it's the metallics, yeah. So as long as it's straight up black, Yeah, I'm all with that. Panel paint it. Be done with it. Good point. Jerry, I just did a job on a 2005 Mustang to replace the tie rods, brakes, and front bearings and hubs. He offered $350, and I took the job. Bad choice on my part. Was that $350 in labor, or was that $350 and you buy the parts and labor? Tie rods, brakes, and front bearings and hubs. I mean, I've done. That's probably something I would have done for that price range, but not buy all the materials. So I don't know if that's what you were including in that or not. I hope not. Ray, Metallica can be difficult. Yes, Metallica. Right there. Right there. Metallica can be difficult. Have to get the right coverage. Black has to have almost perfect. Yeah, like, yeah, I know what you're saying. He even says LOL metallic. Yeah. But I prefer Metallica. So yeah, we're good. But yeah, black, if you're going to spray black, that car has to be glass smooth. Glass smooth. Derek, GM subframe black is the best. Okay. GM subframe black. Thank you, Derek. Brian, hello all. Steak on the grill and steak fries and oil tonight. Hope everyone is doing well. That sounds really good. That sounds really good. My wife has a couple ribeyes marinating. We're not going to cook them tonight, though. We'll probably cook them tomorrow night. So, yeah. Troy, black shows everything. Better have your body work really straight. If not, it will show. Definitely. Definitely. There's a guy that I know that he's an old school body guy. The only thing he sands with is a paint stick. That's it. He doesn't use blocks. He starts and ends with paint sticks. And let me tell you, that those cars that he has done, I've never seen a more perfect paint job. Never seen a smoother paint job on a car than what he has done. I have some pictures somewhere of a Nova that he did. And my goodness, it is just unbelievable how perfect, and it's black, and how perfect that car looks. So, yeah, but all done with a paint stick. Jerry says, yes, labor. Okay. Well, and you can definitely get tied up in some of that, depending on how difficult that work would be. Tie rods, brakes, and front bearings and hubs. Yeah. Yeah. What would you have charged, Jerry? What do you think? What do you think that job should have paid? Because I don't know. I don't even know. I usually undercut myself really bad when I do stuff like that. I don't. But I have lots of friends who have me do work like that for them. So, Rick had the hood painted on a Jeep Silver years back. Body shop told me wouldn't guarantee a match. I didn't care. He just needed paint because previous owner paint coat was falling off. Came out pretty good. Yeah. Well, and it depends a lot on the panels. As an example, that your Jeep hood, the only real flow pattern you're going to have would be from the hood to the short cowl on those. Because the fender, the hood comes down to the curve and the fender's flat. So, your eye doesn't catch both of those together. They have to be either, on a plane with each other or next to each other to catch it more obvious. But yeah, that's a good thing. The Jeep hood is a good thing to paint in that respect. I'm glad it turned out good. Bob, some black BCCC mixes are just that. One tint to mix and it's all black, easiest to mix and impossible to screw up. Oh, okay, some black base coat, clear coat mixes are just that. Yeah. Yeah. Derek, it was used on all the frames and underbody of the GM products here back in the old days. Has a satin finish and covers very well. Well, I guess I would need to have like a part number for that. I don't know how you would order GM subframe black. I don't know if there's a special code for that, but I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. Jerry, I think the labor should have been about $450. Okay. Derek says $350 labor would be okay for that job, but not including the bits. Yeah. Jerry, because I had to purchase all the parts and run around to pick up all the parts. Oh, yeah. No, that was not a good price. Yeah, no. No, they got you on that one. Yeah. Yeah, you basically did it for free. Wait a minute. Let me go back up here. Okay, so Jerry, you think the labor should have been $450? Oh, you're talking about okay. So he paid for the parts, but you had to run around and pick them up. I got you. Robert GM still sells Underhood Black by the quart. It's sprayable out of the can. Okay. Jerry says, by the way, he paid invoice for the parts. Okay. So here's the question then, Jerry. How much were the parts? That's usually a good judge on where you need to be with your labor. So how much did the parts come up to? And of course, you know that there's ways you can obviously save money doing that. I don't know what your timeline was to do that sort of thing, but on many occasions I've ordered parts and just had them delivered, even from like Amazon. If I do brake pads and stuff, I get them from Amazon to save some money. They do shipping for free or whatever. They say free. And then I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to drive to the store, burn gas, and waste my time. So that's something to consider if you're going to do more of that type of work. And Jerry says $500 was for the parts. Okay, well then, then $350 was might have been a little low. Yeah. I know I used to have access to a program, the ALLDATA. I used to have access to ALLDATA. And ALLDATA will tell you the hours. So if you're looking at doing a brake job or if you're doing whatever, they actually allot hours for each one of those tasks. Now you can sign up for ALLDATA and get, I don't know what it costs per year, but you can sign up for it. The thing is, pro shops, if you hear the wind blowing, like a pro shop or a dealer, they use those hours as their timeline. So if they get a brake job and it says it's going to take 2 hours to do it, and they're going to get paid 2 hours to do it, and they do it in an hour, well, they just doubled their money. So just to give you some parameters on it. I mean, I'm sure you already know all this, but there's maybe others that need some information like that they could use. Brian, the Fairlane is going factory champagne gold. Very light metallic will be my first time spraying metallic. Was going to buy enough paint it twice, but not at these current prices. Yeah, if you're doing that, make sure you like we've talked about with Wally before, that you walk the car, right? Get everything in place and walk back and forth the full length of the car. Try not to overlap your seams, because you'll end up with a heavier pattern. A lot of people will do that. They tend to want to spray the jam opening, and they end up with too much color in that area. So, walk the length of the car. So good luck with that, Brian. Hope it goes well. Let's see. Michael, has anyone had experience with Nason 2K primer? Local shop recommended it, about $150 a gallon and tintable. I have not heard of Nason, so I don't know who that is. No idea. But being that you can tint it, I guess that's pretty cool. All right. Clark, ALLDATA times for Audis are typically very low, sometimes less than warranty time. Oh, well, that's not good. That's not good. Harvey, I think DuPont had a color code 99S that was just a straight black. No tints, no metallic, and a lot of uses, underhoods and stripes or overall paint jobs. Okay. That's good to know. Derek, most of the paint suppliers know it as GM Subframe Black. It was a Dulux, now PPG product. The formula has changed now, not as good as before, but still okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Derek, these days a good quality satin black does the same job. Sounds good. Robert, I never saw the computer software from ALLDATA, but we had the Mitchell estimate manuals. They were in the ballpark, and if you were good, you were usually under them by 20%. Okay. Nason is DuPont. So there you go. And then we have Terry says, I think Napa sells Nason. Okay. And Wally, 68, I used Nason up here in Canada from Napa, covered really well and sanded beautifully. So there you go. There's some good information on the Nason. Now I've not heard of them. I don't even know where I would go. I don't know. I don't think my Napa store sells that stuff anymore. They used to sell paint, but I don't think they sell paint anymore. We also had back in the day, I think it was CarQuest, before they merged with Advance. We had a CarQuest, and if I remember, you could get paint from them too. And like even my local, like just down the road from me, paint supply, they're gone. They're gone. For whatever reason, they pulled up and left. So if I need paint, I have to either drive 20 some miles to my PPG store, or I drive 10 miles to an off-brand, who knows, paint store. But yeah, they're not local to me anymore. Bob, Nason is DuPont, low end, very thin, watered down paint. It takes twice as much to cover good. Okay. Thank you, Bob. Like I said, I have not tried it, so I'll take your word for it. It looks like Wally had good luck with it. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know. Okay. So as we were talking earlier about the Camaro stuff and trying to make sure everything fits and lines up, I have what I feel is a good game plan. I want to finish fitting the quarter panels, get them in place, get the tail panel in place, get the curved, whatever you want to call it, rain gutter that's in the trunk. And I was thinking about this more and more because I don't think I have the piece in here anymore. Maybe outside. When I was talking about it, let me see if I have that piece outside. Hold on just a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. This piece. Whoops. Hold on. Hold on a second. So I was talking about this piece. The original quarter panel, the curved piece that goes underneath the quarter panel, and then this elephant ear thing that goes underneath the quarter panel and has some sort of a compound that would have glued it to the underside of the quarter panel. I think about this stuff all the time. I really do. And my mind is telling me two different things here. One, when they put this together on the assembly line, more than likely, I'm trying to look at it as a sequence, right? So for this piece to be in here, it would have either had to have been attached Well, let me think about that. Maybe I'm backwards on it. Because when you think about this has glue on it, right? It goes to the bottom side of the quarter. But there's spot welds over here. So you got 3 spot welds. So that had to go in afterwards. Because in my mind I was thinking, well, maybe they put that on first. But they probably attached it to the quarter. Yeah, they put that in the quarter first. Because you look at some of this stuff and you think, well, what was the engineering process here? Because when I didn't have it in my hand, I was thinking that this piece interacted with the rain channel, and I was thinking they must have attached it to the rain channel and then set the quarter panel on top of it. But now that I back out of it and think the way I should be, this piece would have been attached to the quarter prior to them attaching it to the car, which makes sense. So, good. I'm glad we resolved that. But anyway, I've got to come up with the rubberized something that's going to attach it to the quarter. Now, I also bought something that is going to help with the roof. I've got some bags here that I have not opened yet, that I got from Amazon. So I've ordered 3M panel bonding adhesive, and this is the 08115. So the difference being they've got 3 different versions of this: 08115, 08116, and then a 0-something-77. The 8115 I think has the shortest work time. I think it's still like 90 minutes. And I think the 116 has like a 2-hour work window. And then the other stuff with the 7s in the number is actually like super heavy duty strong stuff. Recommended for high impact areas. So for the roof where I'm going to use this, it'll be fine. It's not gonna make much difference in that respect. So then the other thing, see if I can get this. Nope. The thing is, you're not going to put that in like a regular caulking gun and apply it to the car. So I got this, and I think total cost. I don't know if I have. I'm not sure what it was. $90 in the gun and the package, but this should all, yeah. So that just sets down in there because it mixes in the tube. I don't know if you ever messed with this stuff before. It has this little tube that has kind of, well, I don't know how you label it. Let's pretend it's got like a little set of steps inside it, and there's 2 different paths that join together internally from this nozzle. And so those little steps, as it pushes together through those steps, it blends it and mixes it together, so you don't have to do anything with it. When it comes out of the tip, it's ready to go. So we use this quite a bit at the body shop. Sorry, that was kind of loud. And that's the plan, is on the roof, not in the front, not in the back, only on the sides. I'm going to add that because if I try to once I weld on the drip rail, I would have a very tiny gap to try to weld the roof to the drip rail. Even if I tried to go up from the bottom, then it would just be more area to blend, gets more complicated. Using the adhesive, it will take care of the bonding the roof to it, and also it creates a watertight channel. I may add some to the front edge and the back edge, But like I said, in the collision industry, you would have to weld the front and rear regardless. That's their rule. So what I can do is apply that in a way that it doesn't get into the weld contact area. Because ideally, if you had a spot welder, it would be fantastic. But you can apply that stuff, get it on the back edge of, say, your contact area, clamp everything in place, let it cure, and then come back and weld the plug welds that you have in. So it's going to work out pretty well, I think. Jerry says, Grill is calling. Catch you all next week. Please celebrate Memorial Day and what it means. Yes. Thank you, Jerry. Glad you're here. Rick, you should listen to Johnny Cash one piece at a time when you're putting the Camaro together. Yeah. I should. Bob, did you get extra tubes for the panel bond? Actually, this kit, it comes with 2 tubes. I don't think I'm going to need more than 2 tubes in this instance. They're readily available. Amazon has them on hand. I think they sell these things. Little tubes aren't cheap. They're like $6 a piece, and so a 6-pack that they sell is $36. At this point, I didn't feel like justifying the cost of getting that, but I know that I can get them pretty quick if I need them. The difficulty is, trying to make sure that you can save what's left of that panel bond until you need it at a future date. I don't know when that's going to be, but yeah, I can get them pretty easily. Robert says, I have used Lord Fuser. Not a clue where I put the caulking gun for it. I've never heard of Lord Fuser. But it sounds like it's an impressive material. It's got to be something incredible that holds that together. So, yeah. Okay. Whoops. And Robert says, great name. Yeah, I get it. It is a great name. So anyway, I've got to make all these little test fit stuff. Now, prior to doing that, I do have to finish welding. I have welded the bottom of the rocker, and in that last video you may have seen, I talked about taking the block of wood and jacking up the rocker panel, and I did that. And really what I did, because I wanted it to mate flush with the internal or the inner rocker. So I started at the front, and I just jacked it up a little bit, put clamps on it, came back, jacked up another section, put clamps on it, back, jacked up, more clamps. So it wasn't like I tried to, you don't want to take something like that and say, let's say jack it up and weld, and then try to jack up the next section and weld, because you've just now got the front section fixed. It's not going to move. It's not going to move to your liking. So by doing it like I did with the vice grips, at least what I can do technically is loosen up a vice grip here and there and let it kind of level out, but it turned out really nice. So all that is welded. I still have to weld the internal section of the A-pillar where the hinges and all that mount, get all that taken, get it welded in. And then I may just go ahead and remove all the internal bracing that's in the car. It's not needed. Once you have all this connected, it's really not going to make any difference. The quarters really only going to support the back of the car anyway, and you can't compress. Like, there's no weight on this car, so if you try to lift it up, it's not like it's going to bend at the rocker panels and try to fold in on itself. So I may end up removing those pieces. And there's one other issue that I found, and I really wish I hadn't found this, but I know I have to do something with it. When I was under the car on the driver's side, and I was welding together the rocker panel, just because I was looking at the floor pan, and overall the floor pan is in great shape. It is. But I realize now it's got rust through. I didn't see it. It's under the seat riser on the driver's side. Everywhere else, other than having some dents in it, it's solid. Very, very solid. But I saw a little area, and I poked it, and my finger went through the floor pan. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to replace the whole floor pan like I did in the other Camaro, or if I want to do just a section underneath the seat riser. I'm not sure just yet. The price of the floor pans have gone up, as with everything else. So I have to consider what I want to do with that. But I can't let it go. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going to hide it. So I'll have to get that taken care of. Clark, it's all good as long as you don't weld your glove into the rain gutter. Just saying. How did I do? I forget what that was about. I know that sounds familiar, but I don't remember exactly what that was about. What did I do there? And now you got me thinking. I can't remember exactly what that was, but it does sound familiar. I remember either I said that or I did that. One of the two. Thank you for remembering that. Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm going to be out here much longer. It is, again, Memorial Day weekend, and it's been kind of a long weekend. We're doing things with family and friends and stuff like that, and I'm tired. I'll admit, I'm tired. Let's see. Clark, guy that works at a plant, was welding and did that. Can't remember names ever. Okay. Yeah, I remember there's something with a story on that, but I don't remember. I remember the comment. So, yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay. I'm not going to hold everybody up. I know that my wife and I have a TV show we want to watch. We're kind of behind on some of the shows we've been watching. So, not to cut you all off, but hey, I got to spend time with my wife too, don't I? Happy wife, happy life, right? Okay, so it's been good having everybody here. I know we only have like 37 watching, but I appreciate all of you being here and participating, and of course having Robert monitor things for me, and Roger. I don't know if he's here tonight or not. That helps a ton. Keeps me from getting too many crazy people on here. Terry says, how's the granddaughter? She's doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Okay, so I will, again, be back next Monday at 7. It'll be a new month. I'll hopefully have a new video done on the Camaro, and we'll see how things go. But I want to thank you all for being here. Have a happy Memorial Day. Remember those who never made it home. Remember that. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.